What's up, everybody? The Martial Arts Business Podcast brought to you by Legacy Martial Arts Consulting, episode 2. Sitting here with one of my closest friends and, um, you know, uh, so many things, so many things. Close friend, uh, coach for Legacy, like, yeah, can't say enough good about the infamous Omar Kadi. Omar, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. What's up?
Um, so, Martial Arts Business Podcast, we're featuring school owners sharing their story. Our successful school owners, and you're very successful, sharing their story, kind of like where they started and what led them to their success, and what are some of the unique things that like have made you successful, and taking us through that journey. So why don't you take us through kind of like your training journey and how that changed into you knowing you wanted to open up a martial arts school.
I remember like when I first started jiu-jitsu, I'm like, I was kind of like, what the hell is this shit? Like, like I'm like, oh, people actually believe this stuff works. And then I got introduced to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I was like on like one of the lowest points in my life. I had s- I when I grew up in New York, man. So hustling is part of my DNA. I work, like ever since I was a kid, I was forced to work. My parents threw me in the back of my uncle's restaurant at 9 years old, washing dishes and all that stuff. Hopefully, they don't get in trouble for that, but it's all good. They're old as shit. If they go to jail, they'll be all right. But you know, uh, so fast forward, like I've always worked my whole life, and I worked my way through a corporation, K Jewelers, and I was like, just hustler. Went out there, started killing it on the sales floor. I was like, oh, how do we get to the top there? I had a really good friend of mine who actually is a mentor, one of my mentors, and he kind of like pushed me along the way, cleaned up the rough edges. Because like a New Yorker, I was like, I grew up a little bit, ghetto, and I spoke with a New York accent, and he's like, hey man, that's not gonna fly. It's not gonna fly out here. It's not gonna fly with these like people that are buying, spending big money on jewelry, and you got to clean up and polish yourself a little bit more. So he helped me clean myself up. Long story short, I then became his boss, you know. Uh, so I went from like working for him as a part-time salesperson to like getting full-time job security, full-time job to assistant manager to manager, manager to like DM and training, basically like a district manager. Um, so just climbing the ropes, and just hard work, put my head down. And I was like looking for who the best is, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna take that person. And that's just my personality. Like, not take them out as in like make them lose their job, but like I want to beat their numbers. I want to be, you know, I want to overcome that challenge. Like, oh, he has the record. I want to beat that. So my first year in the jewelry business, I became like rookie of the year or something like that. I got like a whole bunch of awards. Um, anyways, long story short, I was doing really well. And we're gonna go a little bit backwards. My brother and I, when we were kids, we worked in the flea markets selling, you know, uh, brands that weren't like, you know, that were very expensive. So knockoffs, like the
Yeah.
maybe I did that, maybe I did it when I was a kid, um, but you guys understand. So my brother kept kept doing whatever he was doing, and he got caught, and I had to take the rap for him. Middle Eastern families are really close and tight knit. Whatever the mom and dad says, that goes. My mom said, like, this is your brother's third offense. He's gonna go to jail for a while, unless you take the charge. And I'm like, oh, okay, no big deal. For me, it's like it's a misdemeanor. But this came right at the time of they were looking for a promotion. And anytime you're getting promoted, they rerun your background. So I ended up losing my job, and I was like, I went from making 150K, owning my own house, uh, to like making $0, collecting unemployment, which I was able to pay. But then my dad lost his job at the same time, and my dad's like, "Yo, I can't pay my mortgage." And he goes, I think my dad's prideful. He's like, I'm an old guy. You can't let me look bad in front of the people. So give up your house and come pay my rent with your unemployment checks, which I ended up doing. Luckily, I had like the most supportive wife. Um, and she was like, yeah, whatever, if that's what takes to make your dad happy, that's what makes it take you, like that's what we got to do. I'm like, all right. So that's what we did.
Bro, how many years I've known you? I've never heard this story. This is crazy, man. I've never heard this.
Yeah. So like that was like the background before. So I put some money together. I was like, you know what? I'm paying my dad's bills. This and that. I opened up a grocery store in the hood, like in the hood. Um, if you guys look it up, New Haven, Connecticut's like it was like one of the like I think it's like the fourth worst city in like the states at one point, and like gunshots everywhere, uh, people getting robbed. And at that time, I have a cousin who's in the ATM industry, and he was looking to expand. He's like, "Hey Omar, I heard you're good at sales." And like this is like my best cousin, like my best friend, and one of my cousins that like when we were kids, like my side of the family was like really poor, and his side of the family was like not so poor. So I got all of his hand me down. Like he used to be like, "Hey Omar, like here, take my Jordans, or take, and I'm like Jordans. I'm like my parents are trying to buy me Payless shoes. For sure, give me that. And he used to hook me up all the time. So when he's like, "Hey, I need help growing the business, and I know you're good at sales," he's like, "Can you go out and get accounts?" So I built him a credit card route that was like, I mean, ATM route that was like, I would say probably making close to like 25 to 30K a month.
Oh,
And he
wow.
was taking care of me. So basically, I would drive around this hood, uh, open up this bodega or like a corner store in the hood, and I was working, hustling, making money, and my I had my dad work in the store while I was out loading machines. And it was a little bit of sad story. I had one of the guys that became like he was protecting the store. So anytime I wasn't there, his name was Ti. May God rest his soul. Um, he basically would protect the store and protect my dad because like this is the hood, like, and the guy must have, he might have done some shady stuff or whatever back in the day, and so sometimes we like when shit got busy, I used to send them to like places to pick up uh like boxes of Dutches, because people buy Dutches to smoke weed or whatever. So, but he was wearing my ATM bag. I think people thought he had the ATM money on him, and they tried to rob him. Ended up killing this kid, who was like, that shit broke my heart. Like, yeah. So a few months later, I had another guy working for me that was also protecting the store from the neighborhood. Smoked a little bit of whatever the hell he smoked. Thought I was the Batman, and he was a Joker. Tells me, "Hey Omar, give me a Lucy," or he says, "Not Omar." He says, "Hey Batman, give me a Lucy." So I turn around to give him a Lucy. Puts a revolver in my head and pulls the trigger. Thank God there was nothing there. And I'm like, I turn around, I'm like, "Yo, bro, stop playing, man. Stop playing." He pulls the trigger again, and I'm like slapping the gun at the same time, and a bullet went into the ceiling. And he's like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you, Batman." Blah 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 blah. Anyways, he ended up like, so I ended up calling the cops, going to jail. Um, the local drug dealers from the neighborhood were threatening me and like saying like blah blah blah. Blah. So I ended up getting rid of that store. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, damn, bro, like I can't do that. But I was still doing the ATMs and filling up machines, and that was kind of like keeping me afloat, but just barely. So I started working out at LA Fitness. I was super heavy, overweight. I was 250 pounds. I saw this guy that was like ripped, like jacked to shit, like good shape. I was like, hey, what do you do, man? And that turned out to be Mark Cerrone, who I ended up like starting my jiu-jitsu training with. And he's like, oh, I do jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, yo, whatever that jiu-jitsu shit, I just want to take some of that so I look like you. He started laughing. He gave me the card. I went to the gym, did my first trial with one of the guys that actually kept me engaged and kept me in jiu-jitsu. His name was Hodger. He was working for that guy at this time. Long story short, uh, the guys needed a front desk, and they didn't like. I could tell they didn't know anything about sales. Mark had like 25 to 30 members at the time, so I was just like, oh, like helping them out, and he had like this random people trying to help him sell memberships, and I'm like, bro, here's how you do it. Here's how you do it, and it was okay. It wasn't great. Like it was what I knew at the time. from like the jewelry sales. I took that and I just applied it to the martial arts sales. So we're still doing pretty good. But then I met you guys and flew up to Canada, and it was like I would probably say that was like one of the smartest moves that that guy did, Mark Cerrone, is hiring you guys. You know, he was like, and I think that's one of the things that I think is uh, underlooked in most businesses. Most business owners think they know what they're doing. I think like if I had one recommendation, get a mentor, get a consultant as fast as possible. This is not a plug for legacy. Like, I don't care who you use, I don't care what you like. Get a freaking mentor, man. Like, it will change your life. I don't care who, like, it doesn't have to be us, it could be anybody. So if you're listening to this podcast, you're not with legacy and you don't want it, like, it's all good. Just find a mentor, like, find
Pick
someone
someone. Get
that,
someone.
yeah, yeah. Um, so well, I'll fast forward to when I met you. So I started working with you and this and that. And I'm like, kind of put the bug in Mark's head, like, man, I should go up there and see exactly how they're doing things because they're giving me bits and pieces, little at a time. I'm like, let me go up there and like, let me pick their brain. He's like, fine. He's like, go ahead. I'll pay for the ticket up there. And that time, man, like I had like fumes in my bank account, like freaking poor shit, like barely paying for diapers and all that stuff. You remember? And I flew up there. Day one, I meet you. It was a crazy story. It was like the start of our friendship. I think it's pretty awesome. I probably wouldn't have it like if I could do it, I would do it exactly the same way. We were killing it in his gym, and he was like doing well. I remember, and I don't want to give too many details, but basically, I feel like when he found out that I wanted to buy the Stanford Renzo Gracie gym that wasn't doing well as a blue belt, I think that like pissed him off or whatever. Jealousy, envy, hate, whatever it is. Like it is what it is. Um, you know, at the time, like he felt like maybe I was like, I don't know, made him insecure. So he threw up all these like false accusations that I was stealing money from him and this and that. Meanwhile, the guy like owed me money for like paychecks that he hasn't paid me yet, and accused me of taking money. And like me now for like what 15 years, so like my moral, like I have
You never do
way too
that.
much morals. Yeah, like I have too much belief in God to like even take a penny from someone unjustly, like let alone like the hand that's feeding me.
Yeah,
Anyways, he ended up kicking me out of his gym. His insecurities, actually, I think probably hurt him. I don't know how he's doing now, but I like from what I hear, he's not doing too well. Uh, I hope he does well. I don't wish that upon anybody. Like he's in his own world, I'm
for
in
sure.
mine. I went to work for Marcio Stambowski. Same shit. Like it wasn't Marcio actually. It was like his staff, and specifically this one guy that he actually like almost raised. That got super envious that like me as a blue belt, like I had won a major title, won Pan Ams, and running the desk and managing the gym, and I had Marcio's ear, and I was helping Marcio get through, uh, get to the next level with his business. Um, he basically, used that like story of like me robbing Mark to kind of like set me up to make it look like I was stealing from Marcio. And anyways, I ended up losing that. My cousin told me, "Hey, come work for me in the cell phone store." I started working for him in the cell phone store, and then he's like, "Hey, bro, you're killing it. Let's open up something together." We opened up a cell phone store. Me, him, and our partner at the time, his name was Joey, and store was doing well. We were selling, hustling, making money, and then like a whole bunch of things hit. COVID, the company's changed its structure. We started like not making as much money. There was a lot more pressure. And like throughout this whole time, I was breaking my back to accomplish become accomplished at jiu-jitsu. But this time only in the competitive field. I left
Yeah,
Connecticut, moved to New York City.
You're training at Marcelo Garcia's in New York at this
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah. And so, to all the people that are like, oh, like what does it take? I would wake up every single morning at 5 in the morning, drive to get to Marcelo's to do the 7 a.m. training, would leave by 9, drive another hour and a half to work, work from 10 to like 9 p.m. at the cell phone store, and then drive an hour and a half home. But in between that time, I was like making the best of my time, working out, doing push-ups, sneaking away when I had a second staff member to like go do an extra training and get, so I did what I needed to do to like win a whole bunch of tournaments, which I did pretty well at purple and brown belt. Like I won like everything there is to win as far as like purple and brown belt in the masters division.
I remember, and I'm happy you're talking about this because I remember talking to you at this time, and I remember you just shredded right up, and I remember being like, bro, like how are you doing this? Like because I know what I was doing full time, and I know you weren't doing what I was doing full time, and you were able to still do that. And you straight up told me, and I don't know if you remember this conversation, but you're like, yeah, man, like when I have time in the office, like I'll bang out 20 to 50 push-ups or 20 to 50 squats or 20 to 50 lunges, or I'll do these different exercises and I end up doing like 600 to 700 exercises a day. And I was just like, man, like that is a guy who wants it. Like I'm not sure if you remember telling me that, but I remember
Yeah,
you telling me that at that time.
yeah. So like even like my friends, like literally like even a bunch of the guys at Marcelo are like, bro, this guy's on the sauce. And like, because I used to go train at like another local gym when I was in Long Island, once in a blue, and everybody was like, man, like, this guy's on the sauce. And that guy that actually was like, he's a friend of mine. Uh, he brought me one of his guys to work with me because the area was like a Spanish speaking area and I need someone to speak Spanish. So he brought me to one of the guys who actually became a super close friend of mine. His name is Manny. And long story short, I worked with this guy for like 4 years. And when he first came to my store, he was also really heavy. And he would like look at me and he's like, Omar, what are you doing? I'm like, I mean, we have no customers right now, so I'm gonna bang out 25 push-ups. I have a goal to reach every single day, and it's a minimum of 500. And I'm here for 10 hours a day. So what do I do with my time? Like I need to bang out my push-ups. So one day I would do push-ups with like core exercises in between. Um, and you don't have to go crazy. 4 sets of 25 is 100, you know?
Yeah.
And you could break it up throughout the whole day. So like, you know, people that make excuses, oh, I don't have time to get fit. It's not hard. And number one, like when if you can, and I actually learned this from one of our friends, mutual friends, Hammer, and he said to me one day, he's like, it doesn't matter how much you lift if you can't lift your own body weight. Like he's like,
Yeah.
what could you do with your body weight? And that like when I was like a white belt or maybe like I I I think I was still a white belt like when I first met you guys and or maybe just a blue belt. Like that resonated with me. And I said like from that day I'm gonna like start, like with I don't need weights. I can do squats. If you do 500 squats, I guarantee your legs will be burning. You do 500 lunges, your legs will be burning and you're going to get stronger and you're going to get real strength. You do 150 or 200 pull-ups a day, you're going to get stronger. 500 pull-ups, you're going to get stronger, you know?
Yeah.
And people were like, man, like, how is this guy so strong? It's just because I was doing that all day, every day. Like when I'm bored at the cell phone store, like what else do I do with my time?
Yeah.
And that was kind of like one of those things. It was like, make the best of everything that you have. Don't make excuses. Just do what you can with what you have.
So we're up to like in your kind of like story, we're up to like, okay, you're at Marcelo's, you're trying to wrap up your competition career. What's next? Like where are we? What year are we in around?
I would say like 2017 at brown belt, and I was hungry for my black belt, like hungry. I remember like like early 2017, like I asked him, like, man, like, what do you think it's gonna take to get my black belt? And I remember Marcelo, I don't know if you remember this conversation. He goes, Omar, you won purple belt at feather and brown belt at feather. But um, if you really want to show that you're good, step up, go to lightweight. And that was like a cool challenge. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I went the following year and I won brown belt lightweight,
At
you
Worlds.
know? Yeah, Masters Worlds to be clear.
Yeah,
So,
Masters
eh,
Worlds. Yeah.
so, and it was good. It was like a really good challenge. And then shortly after that, I got my black belt in December 2018. But I had like, I had pans, one fasting in pans, and then
I
I did
remember
the
that.
open weight, and I got silver in the open weight, and I like think I lost by like a ref decision in the final.
Wild.
And I was like, yeah, like I have pictures. There's like one picture. It literally looks like there's like a big fish swallowing a small fish. That's how big this. I'm a small guy. I'm like 5'5" and like
Yeah.
160 pounds. And the guy that I was going against was like 290. He's just a big dude, like a big giant dude. And I
Monster.
ended up like, yeah. So I'm like, I ended up, beating most of those guys, including that guy. And then I lost to the final to a guy who's actually a good friend of mine now. Like we message each other. I see him at tournaments all the time. He literally supports my son at every tournament. So, um, yeah, it's been really cool. So,
Okay,
and then
so
I got my
so
black
so
belt.
you wrap up, yeah, so you wrap up your career at well, not like you wrap it up, but like like you get your black belt. So when do you decide you're like, okay, I want to open up my gym? You just get your black belt, like when does that thought come in? What made you do that? What
So
made
there's
you
a
decide, okay, I'm gonna
bug in my ear for many years. Like every like it's 6 or 8 months, I would keep in touch with this guy, and he'd be like, "Man, you should really open up a gym. Man, you would kill it as a gym owner. Man, you would do really well. Like, man, I can't wait to see you like change your life." Right? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. But in my head, I'm like, man, I don't have like the finances to do that. And he would be like, oh, that's an excuse. And he was right. Nick, that's you, by the way, just for the people that are wondering. And, like you were right. It was an excuse. Like when I wanted the funds, I could have probably asked for help, but I'm one of those guys that doesn't like to ask for help. So, although, and like, this is like, I'm training really hard, getting really hard. COVID hits, Marcelo shuts down. I need a place to train. So we start training in the park. And like the guy, like I did a bunch of charity work, and not because I expected anything. I did this for like almost like 4 or 5 years where I would teach at a local mosque
yeah,
during
because it's a
Ramadan.
good thing to do. Yeah, because it's a great thing to
Yeah.
do.
And then like the guys were like, man, let us like help you open up a gym. Let us help. And they same like you, like for like 2 years or 3 years. And I'm like, no, 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 it's okay. No, I don't want to like I'm sure you guys can allocate those funds to something better. I'm sure you guys can put those funds into something better. And like I was like, no, no, like, and then finally during COVID, I was like, you know what? I think this is the time to take the chance, you know? And the guys from the mosque like helped us get the money. They loaned us the money, and we opened up the gym like in the scariest time ever. Like literally
COVID, I
probably the scariest
remember
time ever.
COVID.
Like everything was shutting down, and I was just like I I mean I was like out like in the middle of COVID doing ATMs because nobody wanted to work, and I was like one of the only guys were like, bro, like, oh, this guy, like, none of these guys want to go fill up ATMs. So I would like drive around with bags of like cash, like 400, 500K, and go fill up ATM machines for money and just charge a premium for it. Uh, and then so I stacked a little bit of money, I borrowed a little bit of money, and then we opened up a gym, my partners and I. So they didn't have capital, but I just said to them, I said like, it's all good, bro. Like we've been friends. We've been dreaming about this forever. Ali and Youssef. I said, we've been talking about this, my brother Youssef, and it was kind of like the perfect storm. Everything came together. Ali was working at a PT place, and he's like, I'm sick of working for like crumbs, 16 bucks an hour. He has two kids, so like he wasn't making much money. So he took a chance on me, and he believed in me. He believed in Glory. He believed in the vision. And we started Glory. And there was a lot of scares. There was a lot of up and downs. I remember one of the first things that I did is I said to the guys, I said, look, man, I have a good friend of mine. I'm going to call him up and I'm going to reach out to him and we're going to do consulting right away. And do you remember they fought me on it?
Yeah,
And
I
they're
do
like, bro, you
remember.
know everything. They're like, you know everything. I'm like, I don't know everything and I never will know everything. but also like this guy has 20 years of experience. He has not walked away from, or at that time, I think you had like 20 something, 20 plus years of experience. I said he has not walked away from the game. He didn't work at a cell phone store. He didn't work at a jewelry store. He has 20 years of martial arts experience in the martial arts industry. One of the most successful brands in Canada at the time in the Ottawa region. And not only that, he branched off and recreated everything and he's killing it. So the first 2 months were like a little bit rough. They're like, oh, we have $0, but we have to give up, X amount to like pay this consultant guy. And I'm like, bro, it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. And I remember like in month two or month two and a half, like right before month three, you said something that literally would have cost us, would have been a $70,000 mistake.
I remember.
And that what I'm not gonna talk about it because I don't want to talk about it on the in the video. But had we made that decision, and they were pressuring me to make that decision, had we made that decision, we would have been shot. Our gym would have died where it was. It would have been a $70,000 mistake, and it would have also been the downfall of the gym. So, again, going back to like find a mentor, find someone. If you think you know it all, you don't know it all. If you think you have all the experience, you don't have all the experience. It's always two heads are better than one.
I just had
And
a
obviously with
mentor.
legacy, we have more.
Yeah, legacy we have more, but I just had a mentor that I didn't listen to. That if I would have listened to, gave me some advice. Would is it only ended up costing me like $12,000. But if I would have listened to him from the get go about it, I wouldn't have lost that $12,000. And if I didn't listen to him, I would have lost $50,000. Like if I didn't come around and listen to him, like and people, and I get it, like people have a hard time hiring a business coach and even like quantifying it in like, for instance, like say somebody charges, I don't know, like $800 a month, but they forget about the one time they save your skin. It's like it could be worth $100,000, like that's like literally putting $100,000 back in your pocket, and I think sometimes people are short-sighted in that like a coach has made all the mistakes that, or like the better coaches have made the majority of the mistakes already, and that's what they're charging for. They're charging for so you don't make that mistake, but here's a monthly fee on that charge. But anyway, sorry I cut you off, but I thought that was an interesting point that we talk about, a lot about in legacy.
Yeah, I remember like one of the things that like resonated with me was when we first started. Like it was like, Omar, we're gonna do legacy, we're gonna do some coaching, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, for sure, I'm all for it, bro. Let's do it. I said the one thing that I always tell people when, I'm talking to people about like doing consulting, if you're giving me $1, I'm giving you $2 in value.
For sure.
And you're gonna
Hmm.
see that. You're gonna see that. And I guarantee you're gonna see that. Like it's something that I can like literally guarantee. If you do what I'm telling you, your dollar is gonna turn into $2. And you've seen it, like people that listen to us, we've some guys that are like doing really, really, really well, some guys that are doing okay, and the guys that are doing super well are the guys that are like following step by step what we're telling them. And I also apply this in my own business, with my own partners, like
Well,
like
I
as long as
think
we stick to the game plan. Sorry, go ahead.
if we talk about your success, like your first year when you opened your first gym, you followed the game plan and you were one of the fastest risers I had ever coached. I think you were the fastest. Like you signed up over, I'm pretty sure it was 350 people in your first 12 months. Like in martial arts schools, like one, many martial arts schools never make it to 350 people. And two, not many people get 350 people, paying New York City prices ever in their life. So like your success was like, probably, it was through the system that we teach. And I think that, like you already knew it. We had already been friends for a long time. We had already worked together for a long time when you worked at the other gyms as well. So I think you actioning it and seeing it happen right in front of your eyes, just, it just makes you more of a believer, right?
Yeah. And the good thing about it is like the difference was I had full control. I actually
Yeah.
like in the other gyms, they were like fighting me on like the changes, and I think that's what slowed down their success. Versus like, because like when I worked for Henzo's in Connecticut, like there was things that he wanted to do and things that he didn't want to do. So he was getting, it's like if you do 100%, you're going to get 100% of the result. But if you do 70%, you're probably going to get 70% of the result. And these guys were doing like 60 to 70%. So they were getting 60 to 70% of the result. I went in and I did 100%. So it was 100% of the result. And I believe that's why I got to where I got to so quickly, you know?
Yeah. Like I'm bang on there with you. I remember that time. So you open up your first gym, first year, massive success, 350 students in your first year, just crushing it. And then when do you decide? Because, and I think this is an interesting part of the journey, to talk about. You decide to open up a second gym. What brought that on?
Well, yeah, it's my hunger, the hustle mentality. I always want more. So, I think it was right after you came down and you're like, man, Staten Island is like kind of right. Like you came over and you stayed with me in my house and I drove you around Staten Island. We went out and got some food. I don't know if you remember, we had some good food.
Yeah. Hmm.
And you're like, man, this area is like, I feel like it would be better than Brooklyn. And I'm like, why not open up in my backyard where I live? So as soon as that happened, uh, I opened up and I opened up literally in, like 15 minutes from my house. And we started killing it there as well. Um, and when I say I just want to make sure that I am like super transparent about this and super clear. Uh, as an entrepreneur, I don't know any successful entrepreneurs that did it by themselves.
The
And if
never.
they do, they're not successful. Like you can't be an entrepreneur, be successful, and do everything by yourself because you're not an entrepreneur. You're just working for yourself. Like you're working for your business. Like you're working in your business. You're an employee of your business. And we talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
You own a job.
and yeah, you own a job. And like I always tell people, like you can't clap with one hand. If you want to clap, you need both hands. And I'm one part of the equation, and my team's the other part of the equation. Now, this is another thing that I always think about is like being a jack of all trades, right? If you're driving and texting, right? Like you're multitasking, yeah? Do you think like you're super focused on driving or texting? Probably
No.
not a good idea, right?
Yeah.
That's what I equate to people that want to like control every aspect of their business. I am literally like a piece of the business, and then all my counterparts are the other piece. And my job is to get them to be better than I am at what they're doing. Maybe they can like I can do all of the things. I can do all of the things pretty well. But if you had to ask me like who's the expert on, you know, creating like the systems or creating this or running the jiu-jitsu program, are you the best jiu-jitsu instructor? Are you the best Muay Thai instructor? No, for sure not. Who has the best way of dealing, like for example, I'll give you guys the simplest example. I can come off as like really rough and like brute and like get to the point. Like, come on, I don't have time to sit there and hear you cry or complain about your story. That's where like one of my closest friends and my business partner Ali comes in. He is like, he's he actually looks scarier than I do, and like he's like a 6'2" guy, and he's like pretty big, has the same face, big beard, jacked up ears, and but when I tell you like the softest, Like if you need a shoulder to cry on, you go to Ali. You definitely don't go to
So
Omar.
kind. Yeah, so kind.
Yeah. Um, and we always like joke around like we're yin and yang, like I'm like the evil twin and he's like the nice guy. But that's what you need. Everybody, you put your aces in their places. Every every successful business person is made up of a team of a bunch of successful people, and that they're more successful in their area than you are, and that's what makes you successful.
So, okay, so like, you know, man, the story, like your story, there's a bunch of stuff I'm still blown away. Like I never knew about your hardships and some of the things you had faced. You know, you find jujitsu, you start pursuing it, you start pursuing, what jujitsu does for most of us, which is like, or martial arts does for most of us, gives us an addiction to personal excellence, which is the best part of martial arts, in my opinion. We constantly want to be being the best version of ourselves. Sometimes we find that through competition, and we learn many of those life lessons through there. You open up your first gym, you have great success. You open up your second gym, you have great success. You have a great team around you. You have great partners that you work with. So if you could talk to your younger self, or if you could talk to the you, that is just about to open the gym, and really you're talking to other gym owners or other gym owners who are having a tough time. What are the top three things you would say, guys, listen, like if I were to say these top three things led to my greatest success, these are them. What would those three things be?
So, build a strong team, and in the beginning, that could be really tough. So, actually let's go back. So, when you're slow, when the business is slow, that is the time to systemize the business, right? To get everything, so that it's automated, right? So that to get everything, so that have everything ready, so that when you're ready to take a new person on, there's a system for them to follow, and you're not just winging it, and you're not shooting from the hip. So one of the most important things is like writing down your thoughts, writing down your ideas, writing down like what each person's task is in the business and their job, and what your expectation of them is, and giving that to them as they start. Because otherwise, you're thinking in your mind that they know what you want. They're not reading your mind. And if you have
And
a
you
mind
get
reader, let
mad.
me
You
know.
get mad at them. You get mad at them
Yeah,
because they're not doing. They
yeah,
can't read your mind.
yeah. And I remember like that was one of the things that I had the hardest time with. I'm like, man, like why can't everybody be just like me? Like why doesn't like, you know, Ali do this, or why doesn't Yusuf do that? And I was like complain about them. Like just being honest, they're probably gonna hear this podcast and probably like this guy, you know. But I would complain about them to you and complain about them to my like, and that was like one of the biggest mistakes, you know.
So so
So
so
something I wouldn't.
systemizing.
Mhm. Systemizing the business. This way, people know what to expect and what they need to do. The other thing is like you know, hire a coach, right? We talked about this before. Hire a coach yesterday if you're going to open up a business. Um, and I would vet your coaches. Like see like there and like we talked about this. There's many people that claim all the success and blah 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 blah, and they tell you they've done this or they've done that. Ask, ask around, like find out, do some digging, do some research on the people that you're going to be working with. Make sure that their values and their morals align with yours.
Yeah, I think you nailed that. Make sure their morals and values align with yours. And I think like I think there's two things. Like if I were just to interject, like what to look for when looking for a coach, they've achieved the success that you're looking for, number one, and or number two, or they've helped others achieve the exact success that you're looking for. Like those are my like two things. When I'm looking for a coach, those are the two things I'm looking for. Sorry, I cut you off there.
No, no worries. I think that's a very good point. And I think the last thing is learning to have balance. I think it's like one of the most important things. And we both know that, like, our personalities are like, tunnel vision, hyper focused. I got to get to point B as fast as possible. Like, I might be running some people over on the way, but like, I just got to get to point B. And unfortunately, the people that we're running over are the closest ones to us, our business partners, our life partners, our wife, our kids, our mom, our dad, like, or, like if your parents are still alive. And this, like, family to me is everything. And I just like, I wouldn't be who I am without my family, and I wouldn't be who I am without my close friends, you know? And that's like one of the things that like is often not talked about, like when we're having business talks. But that's like one of those things that like if you don't have balance and you don't give um like time to your family and your loved ones, you're gonna wake up one day and you're gonna have all this money and nothing to do with it because you have nobody around you. You have nobody in your circle. Nobody wants to be around you because you were such, like you could say a tyrant in getting to what you want to get to, that you lose all the important parts of you along the way. And I
Yeah,
think that's like one of my pieces of advice.
yeah, forget your why, Like for me, that's my why. Like I don't want to be so busy that I don't ever get to see my kids, you know? Like I need to seeing my kids is what fills me with life. So why am I going to do something to get more money to never spend time with my kids when spending time with my kids is what gives me life or what gives me energy? And I think we assign such a value to money. Do we need money? Yes. Does money provide comfort? Yes. Does money provide opportunities? Yes. Is money a necessity? Absolutely yes. Like all of these things. However, not at the cost of our mental health, not at the cost of the relationships with the people we love, and care about. I would say those, for me, those are like the two ways like I like to articulate it. Like we cannot have success at the cost of our mental health or at the and sometimes our mental health ties into our relationship with our significant other. Our mental health ties into our relationship with our children, okay, or our relationship with close people around us. And we get so hyper focused, especially those A-type personalities. It's like you said, the blinders go on and I am like a machine, like crush, kill, destroy, get my goal, next this, next that. Need to get the gym to here, do this by any means necessary. And then when, you think at the end of it, you have all the money at the end, but then you have nobody to share with. Like that's not the party you want to be at. So I definitely
Or
like
you
I
missed out
second
that
that.
you missed out on time, man. You missed out like even okay, even if your family puts up with it, right? Like now, like your kids, like grown, and they didn't really have like good memories of you. They were like, oh yeah, my dad worked hard. He provided me with like this and that. Oh yeah, I'm driving a BMW thanks to my dad. But like, I guarantee you that kid would trade that BMW for a little quality time. You
Yeah,
know,
for
and
memories,
if he
experiences.
doesn't, you failed. That's exactly back to the point is you failed, right? So if the kid's like, no, my BMW is more valuable than spending time with my dad, it's because you failed as a dad.
That's right. That's right. 100%. 100%. I think you nailed that. So, you shared like your top three things to be, like that if you were to, the gym owner that's watching this says like, man, I, want more. I want to be better. I want to achieve more. You shared your top three things that I think are like so important. And I think you picked three great things, and this is something we cover in all the podcasts. It's like I want to hear like what are your top three or what are your top five. Is there anything, because we're running in on closing out here, like in closing, you got gym owners watching this, they want to hit the next level, they're struggling, they're having a tough time, like what's your message to people out there, that may be going through a hard time, but they're listening to this to maybe get some guidance, get some inspiration. Like, what is the Omar Kadi mic drop that you could give them?
Look for the positives. Like, don't, like, yeah, for the things that are going well and use that to uh, grow your gym, grow your systems. I think that's really important. Like for me, like, when things were tough, I always found what was working well and focused on that and tried to do more of that. And then, you know, giving that more attention led to more success and gave me more fuel to get rid of the stuff that was weighing me down.
Focus on the positives because I'm sure you agree with this. Like, it's a state of mind. It can be, like, um, oh man, like, I really want to start a gym. I'm going to figure it out. Or it can be like, I really want to start a gym, but, and really it's all a state of mind. It's all finding the way, finding the reason, finding the good in things, even the good in the challenges, even the good in mistakes. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Omar Kadi of Glory Martial Arts Center, Brooklyn, and Staten Island. Two amazing, beautiful schools. Guys, if you're in New York City, go and check these guys out. They have some of the best instructors, amazing jiu-jitsu, amazing striking. Got the famous Jeff Chan out there from MMA Shredded, former One Fighting Championship fighter. Omar, I just want to say thank you to you. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for sharing your time on the podcast, and just thank you for sharing your story. I think I think anybody who heard it, no matter who you are or where you are in your journey, like there's tons of inspiration and valuable knowledge to be taken from it. So I just want to say from the Martial Arts Business Podcast, thank you for spending the hour with us today.
My pleasure. I wanted to add one thing for those people out there that are like skeptical of, can you be successful at jiu-jitsu or can you be successful at MMA and run a business? Just pull up, man. Pull up. Fly to New York City. Pull up, man. You know, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm successful at business. We have a successful competition team from the Muay Thai circuit. Just check out my Instagram. Like look at my Instagram. Okay, Omar, you created it. You did it for yourself. Can you recreate that? Yeah, for sure. And like Nick, what we're doing with
And
our
your
programs.
son Musa, the goat, Musa, he just won worlds, didn't he? Didn't he just win worlds
Yeah,
this year?
yeah, well, 2023, he won everything, worlds, pans, like everything, gi and no gi. He just won Euros, uh, like last month, and probably gonna get win hopefully everything this year again. And he's not just like winning; he's submitting everybody, which is I'm really proud of him. But like not only just him, but like we'll have other kids that are like killing it, on the jiu-jitsu circuit and on the Muay Thai circuit as well. Like our guys are doing thanks to Jeff Chan and brother Youssef. These guys are killing it. So can you be a successful business owner and still like run a super credible program? The answer is yes. Call me. Call me.
Yeah, yeah, we'll get you there. We'll get you there.
Got you.
Thank you so
I
much,
got you
Omar,
guys.
for sharing your time. Guys, hit us up, legacymaconsulting.com. Share the Martial Arts Business Podcast, and that's a bam. Thank you so much, Omar.
You're welcome. Have a good one, man. Talk to you soon.
Later. Bye.